Hello and welcome to Film Days, Episode 1. What is Film Days? This is a series of videos that I'm going to do in the next few weeks, detailing my return to shooting film, to shooting analog. A bit of background here. I've only become a serious photographer with digital. I mean, like everybody else of my age, we of course started shooting with film. When I was a teenager, when I was in my 20s, I used film because there was nothing else. There was no digital back then. I started getting into photography seriously with the advent of digital, and I've been shooting exclusively digital for almost 20 years now. But I've always felt like I wanted to sometimes try film again. But this was what was stopping me was the fact that I didn't think, and I still don't think, that film has many advantages as long as we limit ourselves to small formats. 35mm film doesn't give you much better image quality than digital at the same size, the same sensor size. On the contrary, I believe you get much higher quality from digital, at least in terms of sharpness, resolution, color, and also in terms of convenience and price and cost. So I thought, if I want to go back to film, I will not do it with a 35mm camera. I not only have one, I have more than one 35mm film cameras in this house, but I'm basically not using them. I said, if I want to go back to film, I wanted to do it with a type of film, a format that gives me something that digital cannot give me. So I wanted to go with large format. Large format is a size of film that starts at 4 by 5 inches. This is an example of a large format negative. This is 4 by 5 inches, which in metric terms translate to 10.2 centimeters by 12.7. So it's pretty large compared to a 35mm sensor. It's huge. So this type of film allows you to record an incredible amount of detail, and especially with negative film, you have a huge dynamic range. So I said, if I want to go back to film, I want to do it with this kind of medium. So some time ago, a few months ago, I saw an ad on the website for a camera store here in Milan. It's called New Old Camera. If you find yourself in Milan one of these days, go to their store. They have a huge selection of new and old equipment. And they have this website where they sell used equipment. And one day I happened to see this camera here. This is a Linhof Super Technica version 5, I believe that's the name. This camera was made in the first half of the 1970s. And I said, okay, I'm going to make the jump, start shooting film, large format, and I get that camera. So I bought the camera, and I brought it home, and I thought, now I need to start shooting. And I soon realized that the camera itself would not do much on its own. Like with digital, we buy a camera. Typically, a camera comes with a lens, even if it's an interchangeable lens system, or it has a fixed lens. But you realize, well, I need a memory card. So I said, okay, I got the camera, now I need... The camera came with one lens. It was sold by the previous owner, sold the camera together with a lens. Now I need film. So I got myself some 4 by 5 sheets. Started with black and white. It's simpler and cheaper than color, at least for now. And I said, okay, how do I load the film into the camera? And I realized, well, I'm missing something. What I was missing, I didn't realize in my naivety that what I needed was some of those. These are film holders, 4 by 5 film holders. One film holder will hold 2 sheets of film. One on this side, and you turn around, you have 1 sheet of film on the other side. And you load the film into the holder. You need to do it in the complete dark. And one on one side, one on the other. And then there's a dark slide that protects the film from light. I'm not going to open it now because I've got unexposed film in this holder. So if I open the slide, it will burn the film. But I'll do a future episode on how to load film into the holder. So I figured out I needed at least one holder. In the end, I ended up getting 8 of them. Each holder holds 2 sheets of film. You basically insert the holder in the back of the camera, pull out the dark slide, take a shot, reinsert the dark slide, extract the holder, and turn it around, and ready to take another shot. Now, 1 holder, 2 sheets of film. I have 8 holders. That means 16 sheets of film. Means when I go out, I can take 16 shots without changing the film in the holder, which needs to be done in the complete darkness, and that is not easy when you're out in the field. So one typical outing, I can shoot 16 images. They're not a lot, but you see, with these cameras, it takes a lot of time to set up a shot, and each sheet is expensive. I think I paid like $2 each for each one of those, maybe more. I don't exactly remember, but you can pay much more. I think a sheet of black and white film, you can start from maybe about $1, $1.50 to $2, $3, $5, $7, $10, maybe $10.50, maybe more with Fuji Velvia 50, for instance, is insanely expensive. So you want every single image to count, and having only 16 ensures that you will not just go and spray and pray, as they say, like with digital. Digital is cheap. I got a 128 gigabyte card in my camera right now. I can shoot thousands of images without paying a dime. Here it's a bit different. So anyway, I got the holders. So for this episode, I'm just going to show you my basic kit for shooting. The accessories that I realized I absolutely needed to have if I wanted to do some large format photography. But first, a couple of words about the camera. Now let me take this one out here before I shoot inadvertently. So this is what they call a view camera. Let me move this around a little bit. A view camera has the lens mounted at the end of these bellows. And you basically extend the bellows, and you use these 2 little knobs here to set the focus. The camera also has in the back a ground glass. So it doesn't have a viewfinder, at least normally doesn't have a viewfinder. You frame and focus using the ground glass, which is not very bright. The image is upside down. It's not very bright, so you normally want to use a black cloth. Like, have you seen some of those old movies from the Old West or old photos where the photographer was hiding under this black cloth? And this is basically because the ground glass, if you have sun, if it's bright outside, you will not see anything. You need darkness, so you use the black cloth. Luckily, this was probably the only thing I didn't buy because I had it already in my house, like a piece of black velvet. So you focus there. This camera, normally I would use it mounted on a tripod to do landscape or architecture for the most part. This camera actually also it came with a couple of nice accessories. This is a viewfinder. And what you can do is you can mount the viewfinder on this hot shoe here. It's a cold shoe, it's not a hot shoe. It's just a slide to mount the viewfinder. And you can use this for quick framing, even if it's very bright outside. It also has a handle that you can mount. So you can actually use this camera handle, framing in the viewfinder, holding it here, mount a shutter release here, and click. Okay, many people, these type of cameras were used by the press. So in this configuration, this can be a press camera, what is called a press camera. If you've seen the recent impeachment hearings in Washington, you might have seen some photos or videos where there was a photographer, David Burnett, that's his name, was shooting the impeachment hearings with a view camera. Amazing guy. He also was shooting the Olympics with a view camera. So it can be used as a press camera. But normally I will use it without the viewfinder, if not for quick framing, and without the handle because I've got it on a tripod. Anyway, this is also a camera that can be, let me pull this in, all the way. It's a bit complicated, so that's why it takes a lot of time to set up and everything. Let me put this back inside, and then you can close it, and it is portable, reasonably portable. This camera is metal. This is hard metal. It weighs a lot. I didn't weight it, but it weighs a lot. But still, you can carry it in the field. I put it in my backpack, and I can carry it in the field. There are other types of view cameras that have a rail where the back standard and the front standard, they move on a rail, they use a lot of space, they are not foldable, so they're not as easy to carry around. This one is easy to carry around, and it's also very robust. Once you have it folded, it's very hard to break it. Anyway, this is the camera. Very briefly, I'm going to do more episodes on how to use this camera in the future. Right now, I'm still talking about everything that you need. So you got the camera, you got the black cloth, you got lens. Lenses are interchangeable. So this camera came with this lens here. This is a Nikon 150 millimeter, which is kind of the normal focal length for this format. It's equivalent to about 45 millimeters on 35, on full frame. But this is a fixed focal length. There are no zooms for those cameras. This is 150, so I wanted something wider. I got myself a 90. So basically the 90, you just mount it in here. It's very simple. And you're ready to shoot. I also got myself a 360. So I got wide angle, telephoto, and normal. Covers pretty much most of my needs. I also ordered on eBay 210 millimeters, which I'm planning to use mostly for portraits. So these are my lenses. The lenses are mounted on a board, and the board is what lets you mount the lens on the camera. But actually you can change this board if you have a different brand, different type of camera, which doesn't have the same size of the board. You can unscrew the lens from the board and mount it on a different board. And the lenses come with a built-in shutter. The shutter here, so there is no focal plane shutter in the camera. The shutter is only on the lens. So you got a shutter time ring here. This one goes from 5/500th of a second to 1 second and bulb and T mode. It also has a ring here, a selector to set the aperture. This one goes from 5.6 to 64. And it also has a little shutter lever. Let me see how this works. You basically use this lever here to cock the shutter. Now the shutter is activated. And then I'm at, let's say, at 1 second. You press this one, and you take a shot. Of course, you do it on the camera, not here. You can operate the camera from here. Is not very comfortable. You normally use a remote release, a shutter release cable, which you screw onto the lens like here. You cock the shutter, and you take a shot. Remote release is very important because typically with these type of cameras, it's not uncommon for your shutter times to be quite long. So you want it on a tripod, and you want the shutter release not to introduce any vibration. Every time you have to cock the shutter, take your shot. So lenses. Another absolutely fundamental thing is a focusing loop. This is a small loop. I got it on Amazon for very little. It's not very good. This provides a 3 times enlargement. I also have one which gives him more enlargement. But basically use it when you're out shooting and you're looking into the ground glass. The ground glass is 4x5, is the same size as the film. You want to check fine focus, do a fine focusing tuning. You put it on the back and you look through the loop to get a little bit of enlargement to help you checking that your focus is very precise. Another thing that the camera doesn't have is a meter. Of course, it has no automation, no auto anything. Everything is manual, but there is no meter. You need an external meter. I've got this one. This is another one that I didn't have to buy for this camera because I already had it. I mostly use this for shooting with flash. This is a incident light meter. So you put it close to your subject, you meter with or without the flash, and you see what exposure you need. This also works as a reflected light meter. So if you have a distant subject, you cannot go close to it like you're shooting a landscape, you can meter the scene using the reflected light mode. But this one doesn't have a spot mode. So when it measures the scene, it measures everything that is contained within a fairly wide angle. If you want to do a spot measurement, which is essential if you want to apply the zone system, for example, for black and white photography, you need a spot meter. So I don't have a spot meter. Right now I'm using my digital camera in spot meter mode. When I want to do spot metering, it's not very convenient because I have to carry my digital camera as well. I'd rather not do it. So I ordered, again on eBay, I used Minolta M spot meter that I am hoping is going to be delivered soon, and I will use that to spot meter my landscapes. So the meter, any kind of meter is absolutely essential, but if you don't have a meter, you can use a digital camera, provided it has a spot meter function. This is the absolutely minimum required. Other optional but very useful things, filters. Of course, with these cameras, we can use the same filters we use for digital photography. We can use polarizer. We typically will use polarizers for shooting landscapes when there is water. GND filters, ND filters, anything. They just got a little thread where you can screw your filters on. For black and white photography, you will want to use color filters. The reason is that if you're shooting black and white in digital, you will typically shoot raw, and a raw file has all the color information, and you convert your raw file to black and white. And when you convert to black and white, you decide which of the different color channels, red, yellow, green, blue, and so on, contributes to the final luminance of the final black and white. To make a long story short, if you're shooting a scene like this one where you have some sky and you have trees and you have rocks and grounds, like the trees and the sky, they are different colors. They have color contrast, but they have no luminance contrast. They might be more or less the same gray level. So how do you create contrast? By using, for example, a yellow or orange filter, because a yellow or orange filter will let very little blue light pass through, so the sky will become dark. A yellow filter will keep yellow, the yellow color of the leaves will become brighter, relatively speaking, than the sky, which is blue. So this will create contrast in your photos, or contrast between the sky and the clouds, or water and ground, and so on. So I got a yellow filter, I got an orange filter, I ordered a red filter, which is going to be delivered soon again from eBay. Got a lot of stuff from eBay now. Got a vintage camera, might as well buy vintage everything. Anyway, last piece of vintage equipment is a stopwatch. I didn't want to buy a new stopwatch. I got a cheap old one, used one, but still functioning perfectly from eBay for 25 euros, or about $30. And this is very useful when you set your camera shutter to, say, bulb mode, if I can see it. Okay, this is in bulb. And you want to take, say a 5-second exposure, you just press the start of the stopwatch and your shutter release. First you cock it at the same time. And then you wait 5 seconds and you release. It's very quick and easy to use and immediately visible all the time. I mean, a lot of people use their smartphone with a timer app. Like on iOS, you have the timer app built in, which I find not as convenient, because when you want to use it, you have to turn it on, unlock it, find the timer app, which might not be on the home page, on the same page, start the app, go to the timer mode if it's not in the timer mode already, set the length of the time you need, like 5 seconds, and then start. Number of operations, which you basically do away with this one. Oh, I want 5 seconds. Start. Stop. That's it. So that's the basic of my toolkit. There is one part that I have not shown you. As I said, I will typically use this on a tripod, but I already had a tripod. You might be able to use your current tripod head if you want something like this, or you might need to get a new head. I will talk about putting the camera on the tripod on a future episode. As I will talk about film, my choice of films, how to mount the film in the holder, how to get your film developed, print, scanned, whatever. But this is what you need to start with to go shooting with large format. As always, as I said, the camera is just the start, and you start spending money for accessories, whether they are indispensable or not. All right, so I hope you appreciated my little diving into film photography and introducing you to the world of large format. I'm going basically to learn as we go. I'm using this series here also to put down what I've learned as I make progress on this path. So I hope you will follow me on this journey, and next episode will be out in a few days. And for now, thanks for watching. Take care. Goodbye.